welcome to Stan Cat. Stan now considers all things, and our look at what it means to be well educated. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to listen to. There's a lot to look at. It's almost too much. It's like a casino buffet. Most people I meet in church or on the tennis courts or in laundromats, they know a lot of stuff. If you've got an average IQ, it's amazing how much your skull can hold. But it's only a finite amount. A Japanese high school friend of mine once told me, "Stan, you ought to learn Japanese." We've all met individuals who have a tremendous amount of knowledge of baseball statistics. I would want to learn bridge and become a world-class bridge player. I want to learn Turkish. If I had 1,000 years ahead of me, I'd want to do those things. But I only have 30 or 40 years probably before I die. When you go to a casino buffet with all of the things spread out before you, do you eat a bowl of sugar? What will it be? In literature, will it be Thucydides or Danielle Steele? In music, will it be Mozart or rap? In theology, will it be Teilhard de Chardin or a glitzy TV preacher? There's too much out there for us to have it all. How much time do you have after you come home from a day of working or a day at school or elsewhere? You don't have that much time. Don't squander it on bowls full of sugar. Health. One of the important parts of being alive, and learning about health is an important part of being well educated. And health and happiness are related. If I were an insurance company, if I could, I'd just sell to happy people. Because those people for life insurance would not be cashing them in as often, I don't think. Health and happiness. Oh, what's the steps to health? Health isn't that elusive. Or happiness isn't that elusive. Happiness. Consider the sagebrush. Yeah, you consider it too. The sagebrush sits out there outside my window in my house, good old Nevada landscape, and it doesn't worry about tomorrow. It sits out there, and if it rains, I can hear the sagebrush saying, man, that's cool. But if it doesn't rain, sagebrush doesn't get all uptight and go into primal scream. One of the lessons we can learn from the sagebrush: when it doesn't rain, the sagebrush don't need Valium. How you use the English language. When you announce to the world that it's 7 a.m. in the morning or 6 p.m. in the evening, you're really saying something about yourself. Years ago, when I took my daughter to a new orthodontist, I noticed a handwritten sign on the wall in the waiting room there. It was 2 sentences long, and in the course of those 2 sentences, the orthodontist had managed to make 4 English errors. I trembled with the thought of what it was doing to my daughter's teeth. When she came out of the, what do you call it, the operating room, or where the dentist works them over, she wasn't much happy with them either. She hadn't seen the English errors. A couple of years back, I saw a sign in a San Francisco courtroom. It said, "No eating, drinking, or reading." I looked at it. No eating, drinking, or reading. I'm looking at the sign right now. I looked over at the bailiff, and I thought, I'll read it again. Maybe they won't catch me. I don't know which is my favorite. War, disease, or famine. War makes such a lot of noise and great history. But pestilence is really neat. It is so bold. Pestilence. Which U.S. war was our best? Best in my terms, in terms of Americans killed. Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II. Pop quiz, you name it. Which was the biggie? I'm going to exclude the dinky ones like War of 1812 or the Mexican War. Which killed more? Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, or World War II? Here comes the answer. Boom! Oh, it was the Civil War. Oh, the number of dead in the Civil War was the biggie. Almost 500,000. But war don't do it. I like pestilence today. Oh, you ever hear about the Spanish flu of 1918, 1919? What? You never heard about it? They didn't teach it to you in the schools? Those good old schools? The Spanish flu of 1918, 1919 killed more people in this country than died on the battlefields of the Civil War. What? You've never heard of the flu, the worldwide flu in 1918, 1919? It killed more than the best war we've ever had. Wonder why they never talk about it. Here's the picture. And in fact, worldwide, it's a 20 millionaire. Ooh, you can't beat that hardly. Now, as your messenger of death for you, I love it when you spend gobs of money agonizing over acid rain and outlaw in the apples, when the mortality from those things is microscopic. And you miss the biggies. An article called A New Black Death in September 12th issue this year of Forbes. September 12th issue. It's a good article. Points out that New York City spent $102 million. $102 million tearing out the old asbestos. And there were two groups of experts that testified. One group said that no lives were saved by that $102 million. Another group of experts pushed that number up to 5 lives were saved, they figured. Spend the money on the big ones, huh? We spend $10 billion. $10 billion, not million, $10 billion on Superfund to clean up around here. Make it neat and tidy, neat and tidy. Microscopic number of lives saved. That article talked about that if we spent 1/10 of that number on the important things, on getting ready for the next viral epidemic, which experts are uniformly 100% certain is going to come, because we've had them in the past and we'll have them in the future, and we're not ready, that we could save a lot of lives. But, in fact, maybe you shouldn't read the article. Let's go spend it on other stuff. Clean up the environment a little bit. That won't save any lives much. Through the eye of the artist. That's the treat that art can give us. That's why we're drawn to particular artists and not drawn to others. Don't buy me art. I've told that to my friends, my relatives over the years. I didn't know when I first said that to people why I said it, but I've come to understand a little bit more what it means for me to say, don't buy me art. The artist looks at the world and selects from it particular things, and then fashions those particular things that the artist selects to create the art. And at every step in the process, looking, selecting, fashioning, the philosophy of the particular artist shines through in the art that's created. Art reflects also the society in which the philosophy of the artist is derived from. Now I want to look today at the art of the Weimar Republic and the years that set the stage for Hitler. Years that were much like our own today. One major movement during that period was the Dada movement, D-A-D-A. Today, the artists that are in the Dada tradition are the ones that we call the performance artists, or the artists that create happenings. A contemporary art, if you want to call it that, was two artists tied an 8-foot rope connecting the two people, a man and a woman, around their waists, and stayed that way for a year. And they called that art. And it's discussed in contemporary art classes at University of Nevada today. Wow, the avant-garde. Dada began originally the movement in about 1916. And it specialized in the unintelligible. It was against civilization. That's what it said. Dada itself is a baby talk word. That's where it came from. An artist, if we can put that in quotation marks, would collect rust and rags and junk and any refuge and stick it together and hang it on the wall and call it art. In one exhibition in 1920, artist Max Ernst had entered the art exhibit through a public urinal. And then there, among several disgusting pieces of stuff, was a block of wood and a sign on the wall that said, "Okay, take a chop at this." One advocate of Dada said, quote, "Like everything in life, Dada is useless." If art reflects society and reflects the philosophy of society, then the nihilistic art of Dada and the corresponding anarchistic, like the movie Natural Born Killers, homage to the irrational, to madness, it's scary to contemplate. Let me assure you, you are not weird if you find some of today's music or paintings or movies to be revolting. Stan now considers all things. That's Stan Cat. That's my picture that I've drawn. Last week, for the first time on public television, I revealed a fantasy that I've had for a long time. It's a daydream to found a university. And last week I told you about some of the things that this university might be. Today I want to mention some of the things that my university, if I were to found a university, wouldn't be. It would be okay for students to use the word burly or banana or Dutch treat. I wouldn't punish them, although there are parts of the University of Missouri on that campus where you're not allowed to say those nasty phrases or words. You would be able to say the word freshman on my campus, although Nebraska Wesleyan won't let you say that word without fear of punishment. The students at my fantasy university would be able to say the phrase culturally deprived, or nerd, or minority, which are disapproved of by the Michigan State, University of Arizona, and University of Michigan, respectively. My university would receive no government funding of any kind. As far as I know, there's only one other university, one other college in the entire United States now existing that has that honor. Hillsdale College in Michigan. My fantasy university would be the second such university. The tuition would be low because the faculty, this is surprising, would be teaching. The professors at Michigan State spend an average of 5.5 hours a week teaching in the classroom. 5.5 hours a week. Whoa, that's a heavy teaching load. They're not there to be teaching, it seems like. 1/10 of those professors get over $100,000 a year in salary and other benefits and other income. 5.5 hours a week in classroom? That's got to add to the tuition of Michigan State students. My university would not be a breeding ground for researchers intent on reproducing themselves. The faculty would pay attention to how much those textbooks cost that they assign. Most places don't. Students would then be able to attend full-time and get their degree in 4 years or less. In 1991, 60% of American students were attending full-time. And since 1991, the tuition has been continuing to spiral upwards at faster than the inflation rate. So I'm pretty sure that less than 60% of students nowadays attend full-time. The faculty wouldn't think that their job was just to pour knowledge into the heads of the students. We've been in courses, you and I, where memorizing was the main theme, and the teacher would get up in front and read out of their lecture notes this, date, time, chemical formula, name, and you'd sit there and write it all down and memorize it. You remember how much, you know how much you remember of those courses after the final was over with. You promptly forgot it. That's not a true education. That's not being well educated. We would produce graduates from my fantasy university who, when they thought of Plato, wouldn't think that that was some dish that Italians put their spaghetti on.